So as I'm sure you're aware, biodiversity is the sort of central pillar of life on Earth. Obviously life can exist without being diverse, but it's just less interesting and not very healthy. So in order to sustain life long term, you need robust, healthy biodiversity. You need a lot of living things. Now, biodiversity exists in sort of four fundamental ways. There's genetic diversity, which is the diversity of genes within a species, so that if disturbance happens, if catastrophe happens, disease, the species as a whole is genetically diverse, so therefore can bounce back from that disturbance. The genes in the species are resilient. Then you have species diversity, where you have lots and lots of different types of species that exist in a specific area. These are the individual organisms that are unique, that can't breed with one another, the diversity of birds or fish or reptiles or plants or so on. So you have genetic diversity within a species diversity within an ecosystem. You have ecosystem diversity, or a wide variety of ecosystem types that can be found on Earth in a biome in a given area. So genetic, species, ecosystems, lots of types of ecosystems. And then you have diversity within ecosystem function, or the jobs that ecosystems do. So an ecosystem is healthy if it does good work, if it cleans water, if it purifies air, if it provides food, if it provides shelter, if it provides a robust and meaningful and useful home for other living things. So you have genetic diversity, the diversity of genes within an organism. Species diversity, the diversity of species within an ecosystem. Ecosystem diversity, the diversity of ecosystems within a biome or on Earth. And then the ecosystem processes, diversity within ecosystem function, those things that ecosystems do, like clean water, clean air, lots of different living things. Those four components of biodiversity are essential, and you should understand each and every one of them. All right, so then the big question is, how do we get to biodiversity? How do we get to this point where we have 10 million different species of life on Earth? And the answer is through evolution, through the process of natural selection that allows organisms to adapt to their ecosystem, to modify their ecosystem, to outcompete those that are less competitive. So that's how you get from one life form about 3.8, 3.9 billion years ago to the 10 million that exist today, at least on this planet. Now, evolution can be controversial. It can be somewhat complicated if presented in specific ways, but I think it's actually one of the most beautiful and exciting aspects of the natural sciences and the environmental sciences. It's amazing, and I hope to walk you through it with taste and with tact and with logic, so that it's not this weird, convoluted, controversial thing that you've come to expect, but it's actually something that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense, specifically because we watch it happen. We facilitate its progress, and we're manipulating it right now as we speak. So, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to go deep into evolution and how it works. So, get ready. All right, so the first thing we need to get out of the way is this idea of the theory. What is a theory? Because you probably have heard the idea that evolution is just a theory. That's true, but you're thinking of it in the wrong way. You're thinking of a sort of different definition of what a theory is, because in fact there are two definitions of the word theory. Your sort of common definition of the word theory is kind of like what a hypothesis is. It's an educated guess based on observation, sort of a speculation, just a guess. Like if you have a theory as to why your car is sounding funny or why the window isn't closing properly, that's the correct usage of the term theory, but it's not the same thing as a scientific theory. So let me ask you a few rhetorical questions. Obviously you can't respond to me, but we can still get them out of the way. So here's a picture. Why is this gross? I want you to think about why this is gross. Why is having this on my face? Why would I not want to stand next to this person? Why do you want to, cover your mouth when you sneeze or cough? Well, germs. Well, guess what? The existence of germs is a theory. The idea that germs cause disease, that's a theory. It's called the germ theory of disease. Yet you base the last 8 months of your life on the idea that germs are spread relatively easily and they're problematic. So, germ theory of disease. Why wouldn't this be a good idea? Why would standing here, sitting here, be a bad idea. Or heck, going up onto like this ledge behind me and jumping off. Why would that be a bad idea? Maybe if I think enough, I can fly, or I won't get hurt. Is that true? No. Gravity. We accept it. We base our lives on it. We get in an airplane and expect it to do what it's supposed to do because of the laws of physics and the idea of gravity. Well, gravity is a theory. Gravitational theory. How about this? Does this happen? How do you know? I mean, you can sort of see it, but it's also a theory, the heliocentric theory of planetary motion. These things are theories, people. Germs, gravity, the Earth orbiting the sun. These are theories. It's because they fit into that second definition, which you can see here. So this is from the Oxford English Dictionary, which is sort of the go-to guide to the English language. And it has two definitions for the word theory. One is your common definition, the one that you use on sort of a regular basis, and then the one that science uses to describe these processes of science. Evolution, the germ theory of disease, gravity. These are all theories in science because they've been rigorously tested. They've been confirmed time and time again. And the most important aspect that they're a theory and not like a law, like some of these laws of physics, is because they can change. Every time we learn something new, we're adding information to the idea of the germ theory of disease. Like right now with coronavirus, we're learning new stuff all the time. This is a really mysterious disease. So we're adding to the knowledge in the germ theory of disease. We're adding to that knowledge. With evolution, same thing. Every time we discover a new species, we're adding to that knowledge. There's always more to learn, which is why it's not a law. Laws of planetary motion are based on math. They don't change. And that's typically how laws work. They're based on math. Whereas theories are based on observation, and every time a new observation is made, new information can be gathered, and new evidence can support the idea. So don't think of theory as some wishy-washy, might be, won't be thing. Think of it as an evolving idea. It's an idea that has room to grow. And every time we discover something new, we're adding to that wealth of knowledge. But the second definition, what's most important about that second definition, is that it has yet to be disproven. Gravity, evolution, germ theory of disease, heliocentric theory, these have yet to be disproven by something new. That's why they are a theory, and that's why we accept them as fact. It's, obviously maybe not the best vernacular to use, but science has never been known for being the best communicators of their ideas, but that's the nature of evolution. It's a theory, yes, but it's not the one you think about. It's not the one you use every day. It's not that word. It's a different word, but it's the same word. It's really strange, and it's not really complicated, but it is confusing, especially if you don't dive deeper and look into what these things actually mean. So I'm going to read you one more thing. It's from an author that I really like, one of my favorites, David Quammen. I highly recommend you read anything he's written. He's great. And he said in a National Geographic article from a few years ago, this passage, which I think encapsulates a lot of what evolution is all about and why you should sort of just believe it. So here's what he says about these ideas of theories. Each of these theories is an explanation that has been confirmed to such a degree by observation and experiment that knowledgeable experts accept it as fact. That's what scientists mean when they talk about a theory, not a dreamy and unreliable speculation, but an explanatory statement that fits the evidence. They embrace such an explanation confidently but provisionally, taking it as their best available view of reality, at least until some severely conflicting data or some better explanation might come along. That encapsulates what we're talking about when we talk about what a theory is. Thank you, David Quammen. All right, so for this part of our lecture on evolution, we're going to try to play a little bit of a game. This obviously works better in class, and it might work over the computer, but because of internet connectivity and pixelation, it probably won't work. So anyway, you're going to have to imagine that we're playing a little game. Let me read something to you first. So as I read, I will give you a view of the forest behind me. So, Darwin's theory of evolution says that each new organism is subtly different from its parents, and these differences can sometimes help the offspring or impede it. As organisms compete for food and mates, those with the advantageous traits produce more offspring, while those with unhelpful traits may not produce any. So within a given population, advantageous traits become common and unhelpful ones disappear. So this is 4 sentences that really encapsulate the idea behind natural selection. Look around your family, look around your community. Each human being is the member of one species, but line up any 10 random human beings and you can see that there is diversity. Each human is subtly different from each other, and you are subtly different from your parents or grandparents. Although, you might have some traits, behavioral traits, those that are, in your genes but not physically manifested. These are known as genotypical traits, genotype. And then there are also physical traits like your hair, your skin tone, your height. These are phenotypical traits. These are those that are exhibited or expressed physically. But these are all things that, are sort of similar, but sort of different within a human population. So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine for a second that you are the member of a different species, in this case a gazelle. And there are lots of gazelles around you, and you can imagine that within gazelles there's as much diversity as you would expect to find in people, if not more. This might lead to changes in visual acuity. This might mean that you can hear better, see better, smell better. You can sense vibrations in the ground better. You can run faster. You can jump higher. You can evade and turn better. So let's imagine you're a gazelle, and I want you to think about how long it takes you to see what's on the next slide. So you're a gazelle. Here we go. Do you see it yet? Because I'm running already. I'm a gazelle too. I saw it. I'm running. And as long as I'm faster than you, I survive, you don't. The goal in evolution is to be better adapted and fitter than members of your own species. You're not competing with the lion that is right in front of you. You're competing with the other gazelles. You're competing with members of your own species. So I'm faster than you, and I saw the lion sooner, so I am more suitable to survive in this situation. My genes continue, your genes get eaten by a lion. And your bad genes, your crummy genes that can't see a lion and can't run fast enough, are gone. They're removed from the gene pool. And therefore, the species as a whole, the population as a whole, is now better suited to survive because I pass on my good genes, you don't pass on your crummy ones. No offense. All right, let's play again. Let's see if you can do it again this time. So, you're a deer. You're snacking on food, some of your buddies, maybe a cousin, maybe a good friend of yours, but you're a deer in this forest, or you're a deer in a forest. Imagine your surroundings. You have members of your own species right next to you, and let me see if you see this. Do you see it yet? Oh, good, you saw it. You're running now. Your friends are still behind you. Your poor cousin just got eaten. Now, even though you share some of your genes with your cousin, grandparent genes, you made it, she didn't. But because you have the better visual acuity or smell or hearing, you're able to pass on those genes, and your poor cousin is not, alas. But that's how it works. You're competing for survival, for the ability to reproduce, to live long enough to reproduce with your species, with your population. You're not competing against the leopard. You're competing against each other, the members of your species. Because remember, the fundamental goal of all life is to live long enough to pass on your genes. That's the goal. And if you have good vision, if you're able to reach or find food effectively, good sense of smell, maybe you're funny, charismatic, you're able to build a good nest, then are more likely to survive, pass on those genes. The species benefits because of your genetic traits. And when you see the lion pick off that little gazelle or the cheetah or the poor starving antelope, you have to think, well, it might be sad, but right now it's what's best for the species, because that ensures that the genes are strong. That's what's driving evolution. Selective pressures in the environment are driving individuals within one species to compete against one another and pass on those beneficial traits. These differences that exist within individuals within a species are very tiny, but if it's a matter of running from a predator or finding prey, those tiny differences add up, and they're really important, and they're important to remember.